Welcome back to Peace Out Witches, where wisdom in the ceremony heals and peaceful love equals aligned sisterhood energy. I'm Stacy, and I'm here with Jamie, my co-leader at Peace Not Perfection Academy. Today, we're standing at the sacred threshold of Spring Equinox, a time of balance, renewal, and awakening. The earth is stirring, the light is returning, and we're being invited into a powerful season of growth and possibility. Just as the world around us is blooming into life, so are we too.
This is a moment to shake off winter stillness, plant those seeds of our intentions, and step into the fertile energy of spring. So light a candle, maybe pour some tea or coffee, or just step outside and put your feet in the dirt and start grounding. If you have grass, put your feet in the grass. Because today we're going to dive deep into the magic of spring equinox and we're going to honor the balance of light and dark, which I think is really necessary at this time. And we're also going to call in new beginnings and what's waiting for us. So let's do it.
All right, so Spring Equinox. Um, Tell me a little bit about it.
It's just, the threshold of light and dark. It's when we are emerging from our shadow space. This is my energetic talk about it, not the history of it. Where we're emerging from our shadow cocooning space. Some of us don't deal with winter very well. So for some, they are coming out of what feels like a depression or a gloomier time for them emotionally, but we know that the light is shining more frequently and we're having more days and of sunshine and sunlight, and we also can feel that nature is also emerging from its dark cocoon, and
Hmm.
we resonate with that on a primordial level because we are also animals of planet earth. We are a species, we are creatures that walk the earth along with the butterflies and the birds and the other animals. So as we feel all the energies around us emerging and um, becoming something new, we too feel that inner calling to become something new. And I like to call this my new year. Other than my birthday, I do feel like this is my new year. I do celebrate New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, but this is when energetically I'm more aligned to start creating for the next year.
Hmm.
And it's a shedding season too. I mean, we don't want to forget that piece that we are letting go winter. We're shedding, we're releasing maybe for me, I kind of feel chaotic in winter. I've never learned to just cocoon, but that's because I work a lot and I'm constantly busy. But this past winter, I shut down all my kids' activities and I shut down all my extra activities. I said no because I felt like the hustle and bustle of driving to and fro and getting them to all the things and all the extras was not teaching my children how to honor the seasons. I feel like that goes
Hmm.
against everything that our bodies tell us to do during that darker, shadowy piece of winter. And I'm glad I did it because it
Hmm.
did lighten my um it just lightened my load. It allowed me to embrace winter more fully as opposed to where I was constantly adding way too much to the season, especially with Christmas.
Yeah, I think that that's a really important, discussion in the aspect that, like, if we don't give ourselves what we need during winter, then spring equinox is going to come and we might actually not feel renewed and like ready to start the garden. And if you work with people who garden, you know that like the winter is kind of when you don't do the work, but the fall is when you prep everything so that the winter can do the work for you. And if you didn't prep everything in the autumn for the winter to do the work for you, then spring is going to have a lot more work to it, right? In order to make that a garden. And so sometimes this time can feel like you're stuck. I think because sometimes people really want to like run, right? They want to like run into their gardening, but nothing's changing in my schedule wise. I still have to work 40 hours a week or still have to take my kids to all these places.
Mhm.
And it's really important to be understanding that energetically, what we are doing, rushing here and about with our kids, we're also teaching them, right? We're setting an example for what it should look like. And the divine feminine isn't really into rushing. Like she's really more into like receiving and relaxing and being provided for in that
Totally.
way.
Hmm.
So what were you going to say, Jamie?
Well, and it's also that receiving, relaxing, but then there's that flow. And the
Yeah,
flow is energetically aligned flow. It's not
right.
forced flow. Like the divine masculine is more of a, not that they force their flow, but they have the energy to back it.
Hmm.
Whereas we have to receive and we have to gestate and let it develop, and then we can go out and produce. And
Hmm.
winter's like that. That is winter time
Well, and
for
one of the
me.
things that we talk a lot about in, Path to Priestess is the fact that the seasons are very much like how a woman experiences her period on a monthly basis. And so, if we were to think about spring, this would be the time when we would have the most energy and, really be the most present. We would be what I call the most plump, right?
Mhm.
Because it's not plumpness in a bad way, it's plumpness in a good way. Like everything all over feels good and plump in the way that I want it to.
Mhm.
Whereas when I am in more of that winter season, I don't have as much energy. I
Mhm.
really don't have the output that I usually have during the month on a weekly basis of what I'm able to produce, even if it comes to taking my kids to places on time and things like that, and being able to provide in that same kind of way in that capacity. So, seeing where you celebrate spring each month, I think is also an important part of understanding how we can expand
Mhm.
and then how we have to also contract back. And there is
Mhm.
always this expansion and this
Layers, right?
contraction that has to happen.
Every month for women. And it's
Hmm.
layers too, because it's like the layer of monthly.
Yeah.
Uh, for moms who are busy and work and all the things, it's daily.
Hmm.
And even I think moms who are not working, moms who are
Yeah.
stay-at-home moms and provide for their children are still having that daily contraction, breathe in breath, out breath, So then when spring comes, where are we? So really taking stock, like,
Yeah.
oh, like right now, for instance, I'll be personal. Definitely feel like I'm shaking off all the stuck feelings of winter. Yes, I made changes during winter this year and it was productive for me. It was better. But I still have big changes looming in my life that are big life changes. So I have an extra layer of that in my world right now. So it feels kind of sticky going into spring, but I also have that feeling inside of the drive and the desire and want to plant the new seeds and use spring as my time of renewal and refreshing my life. And so I have that, we're walking like that duality, right now. The equinox is definitely that. And then
Hmm.
we need to make a choice, but I think you and I do this every year, and we do this with our lunar alchemy membership. If you're a part of that membership, then you do this monthly with us, but we like to do release
Hmm.
as shedding and letting go. And the more you can release, shed, and let go, and then take action from the new place, which is that bringing in and receiving part, you will have growth in your life
Hmm.
because you're going to see yourself go into an old pattern and go, wait, I let that go. I can't step into that pattern again. I need to change that. And you become conscious and aware. And I think spring is really the bigger, momentous, energetic moment to like shed the big stuff from winter
Hmm.
and shed the big stuff and bring in the big stuff.
Yeah, I think that there's really this invitation of stirring that happens in spring, and I think like I used to live in California, and when I was in California, there would be this excitement for what summer was going to bring because I was a teacher, and so springtime meant we were almost done with the school year, right? As soon as we hit to summertime, we'd have like a month of summer, and then a month of school, and then school would be over. Actually, school would hit right at about summer equinox. So there's that aspect of spring that brings this expansion and this excitement. But I think it also brings this idea of like, oh, what do I still need to complete? oh my gosh, I can't believe we're 3 months into the year. Or,
Yes.
I think it's really great too to use these wheel of the year dates like Embolic in February to think about what was I first imagining there that is currently in my life now that I can be grateful for. What moments did I commit to and taking action at that time that's bringing me to the steps that I'm at today, and how can I be thankful and grateful for those? And I think that really this time is the time of the maiden, it's really that innocence, curiosity, new growth. Everything around you is blooming. It looks beautiful. But there's still a lot of rain. There's still a lot of nature that's coming at us, right? There's still
Oh,
a lot of opportunities to be met with coming awake slowly
that's true.
and not.
That could be a huge change.
Yeah,
Yes.
like a seed, right? We don't get to just plant all at once. We have to
No.
grow little by little.
Right.
And so, understanding what it is that you grew, what had a little flicker, what had a little glimmer of what hope was going to be, and then how are you continuing to call that into March? How is that showing up into your life in spring equinox? And what is that going to look like as we move into, these next few months? I mean, right now, as we talked about in our last podcast for the spring energies, it's really, we just had the lunar eclipse.
Hmm.
We don't have another eclipse until early April, which is when this eclipse season will kind of end. And so it's really an opportunity to see all those things coming up in your life and being like, oh, yeah, yeah, what does that mean for me? How is that affecting me? What shifts can I take in my life right now that are going to help me look different because I want this to look different? If you are really interested in doing a sacred ceremony around spring equinox and you'd like to have a little bit of a healing and a clearing or meditation for that, if you go onto our YouTube rituals, we do have rituals there that we post every single month. So you can go check that out. If you're, here for our podcast and you're not a part of anything else we do, it's a really great way to be able to bring in spring equinox for yourself. So, as we are looking at spring equinox, it also brings up the idea of Ostera.
Hmm.
What is that?
Well, Ostara is the goddess of spring, and it was a sacred day that many celebrated. And I think it's coming back. I really do. And I think we still have tokens of it in our Easter celebrations and our Christianity. If you're a Christian, you'll see pieces of the Ostara and the offerings and the goddess of fertility and bringing in the fertile symbolism through eggs and other things, Easter baskets, baskets with eggs, altars. So during Easter time and during this time, we shift our altars.
Hmm.
So if you are one to sell, I celebrate Easter, and I love the resurrection story, and I love the energy of that story. And I love how when I learned it in my adult life, it completely shifted me on a DNA basis. Like I could feel the shift the day that I really embodied what Christ did. Okay, so
Hmm.
this is the Christian talk. If you don't like this, that's okay. You can relate it in any way you want to.
We
But
say put it in the fuck it bucket if you don't like it.
yeah, really. I don't care because I spent my whole life learning all different kinds of religions and
Hmm.
celebrating different kinds of holidays or holy days. But when I had this moment in I would say it was in my 30s, and it was all very individual. No one told me, no one shared. It was not me with somebody else having this experience. It was totally me having this embodiment of it. Anyways, going back, I then felt the need to really embrace the season, and I went crazy. So I went and got all of the crosses. I had a whole thing, like a whole collection of decorations. People go crazy at Easter. I get it. And then I brought in my pagan witchy side, and I would have
Hmm.
my altar would change, and it would still continue to share. I would have Christian symbols on there, but I would also have like pagan symbols too. And so I created a lot of it myself too, because the energy of the shift of the season made me want to make things. Like it's just in
Hmm.
my nature. It's in our female DNA, I think, to create. And this is that time when we are coming out of gestation and we want to now create. So I created a lot of my own crafts around this time of year. And so I kind of went off
Yeah.
topic.
No, it's good. It's a great
Really
time
went
to
off
bring in
topic there.
eggs, things that
Yeah.
represent personal
Yeah.
growth. I mean,
Yes.
if you've been following us for a while, you might know that Jamie and I both, practice different things. We both practice Christ consciousness and believe in the light and star magic and all the things that the light brings. And so we work in a lot of different kinds of witchy magical things that really come from a mystery school perspective of understanding that our personal growth and our connection comes within. And whether you call that source or God, it's still a really great time to understand that nature's awakening, the spirits are awakening. It's a, very common time for obviously all animals to be having babies, right? And this opportunity. So we know in the earth that there's a lot of that. It's fertility, it's awakening. It's this aspect that we had a really cold winter and maybe we snuggled up and now, oh my gosh, maybe we're having a baby, right? There's
Or the
all these,
ideas are flowing. I feel
yeah.
like this is a time
Hmm.
when the divine really comes in and whispers, and
Yes.
you have all these sparks of creativity that you may not have had for months, or
Yes.
new things like, wow, I never thought that I could want to do something like that that's creative and fun. And then it's like a whisper. It feels like a God whisper. And
Hmm.
I feel like that's what that renewal is and that resurrection is. It's like the renewal of the spirit, the renewal of the soul. And Ostara is the fertile season. So like the ideas are coming in and you're
Hmm.
fertile ground for God or the universe or divine to create through you and
Yeah.
experience vibration.
Some of the things that I like to change on my altar at this point are I love to add eggshells or eggs. I love to add flowers. I will add different things that represent creation. I will often add things that might represent like a crown of thorns. One of my favorite church services used to be Friday, and I know that that sounds brutal, but it's just this aspect of really being able to have the darkness and the light be with you at once and being able to hold space for that. And these energies are for that. It's for what are you calling in? What are you, wanting to bring to life? Some great ways to call in the season. One of them would be to just sit outside and be sitting outside where you can receive the sunshine on your face, receive the sunshine on your body, literally, physically, metaphorically, right? Being able to just let the sun wake you up. If it was an exceptionally difficult winter, you felt like there was a lot of grieving, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of unsatisfaction, or you're feeling this need to like do things and can't yet, it's a great time to sit outside and be in the sun. Let the sun and the air renew you and breathing deeply into that sun and allowing that light to come in is going to continue to allow the rebirth in you that happens each year with spring. It's an awakening. One of the other things that you can do is we have like two spells we really like to do around this time. One of them is with an egg, and you just pop the egg, you pour out all the insides, you let it dry for a while, and then you can put all kinds of fun herbs and things in the egg. Each herb represents something that you're calling in. Jamie and I, think of things like spells as prayers, things that we are calling into the physical. So I'm praying in my spiritual, and then I'm bringing into the physical with this. And so, I might have an egg and I might put some lavender in it or some rosemary for protection. Maybe I want to put some salts in it or some sugar. Maybe I want to use just milk and honey. Maybe I want to do eggs, milk, and honey and just have that as an offering. And if I can't put it on my altar, I might just make that little egg and just put it as an offering next to a tree. And you can thank Mother Gaia, you can thank Jesus, you can thank, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, any other goddess that you'd like, you can really take it and make it a spell and ritual for yourself for calling in what you'd like, and you can then offer it back to the land. I know Jamie sometimes likes to put a seed in her egg and dirt in it, and then she'll grow the seed from the dirt and egg. So that's another one you can do with eggs. Um, and then another one is to use any kind of fruit. So an apple, a cucumber, any kind of fruit that would be more normal for maybe right now, which that's kind of why I like apples because apples are kind of more year round. But you can core it out, and again, you kind of put herbs in it, and each herb represents something that you're calling in, and you can go bury that and offer it. So, do you have
And
anything else you want to add there?
yeah, I just think this is the time to start energetically cleaning out the cobwebs in your home. So think
Yeah.
spring cleaning, of course, really deep cleaning if you have the energy and time, but if you don't, um, I like to use holy water and sound in my each room in the corners, and I start from the north and I work my way around, and I use the holy water and sound can be anything you want. It could be Tony, it could be a meditation or music that's being played on your phone. It can be a bell, it could be tuning forks, whatever works.
Clapping. Hmm.
Clapping. And then I like to go through each of my rooms and just like energetically just blasting whatever was stagnant or encroaching in. I just like to, get it out. And then we also recommend blessing all the doorways and windows during this time and just giving it a good, blessing. I have my own way of doing it. Stacy has her way. I've adopted her way too, but you can choose how you do it. That could
Hmm.
just be you going to each doorway. And if you're Christian, you could put the cross on each door and activating the cross all the way around. If you want to create a ritual ceremony, it would be herbs, or maybe it's holy water, or maybe it's just a blessing. It doesn't matter. It's
Hmm.
your, it's you. We believe in your inner magic. That's why we're here, because we want you to dig deep and like even share with us today in the comments what you do and how
Yeah.
you use your house. But this is just a really good time for refresh and then blessing and protections.
Yeah. And, I mean, obviously, there's all kinds of things you can celebrate. Like in my home, we will do a little something for spring equinox, and then we also will celebrate Easter, and we do all the Easter things. So we do all the Easter bunny things and the Easter egg
Yeah,
things, and we have a blast
yeah,
doing all those things.
that's beautiful.
And, it's just really, I think, about bringing ceremony into our lives in a way that is special to us. And, sometimes maybe that means going to church and going physically somewhere. And sometimes maybe it means just being in your space and, being able to meditate and being able to just be present within your surroundings. So that awakening is soft and subtle, but it's also an aspect of just letting you know that you're here and you get to have this ability to live with the earth, right? And we have seasons that we live with the earth. And so finding small ways to bring ritual back into your life. And as you know, Jamie, I've had four kids. Jamie has two kids. I still have young kids. My kids are 6 to 14 years old. So sometimes it's hard to find time for myself,
Mhm.
find time for calling in any of those things that I want to call into my life. And so I think it's important as moms to remember that um, we don't have to do everything. We don't have to do all the things. You don't even have to reset or clear or clean or all the things, right? Because Jamie and I talk a lot about making sure that your spaces are clean and organized and resetting your windows and doors with protections. But
You don't have time for that. You don't have time
maybe
for
you
it.
don't,
Mhm. That's
because
right.
again,
Hmm.
we are moms and different seasons are different. When I was a new mom with young babies, it didn't matter whether it was my first kid or my fourth kid. There wasn't time for clearing spaces and doing protections and things like that. So I would
Honestly,
go
don't have time
around,
now.
yeah, I
Yeah.
would go around with my bell and I would just clear my bell. And the kids thought it was funny. They loved it. And I would just go around
Oh.
and do it with the bell, and they would think it was hilarious. Or I would
And you
do it with
make it
my
simple,
drum.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, simple.
It's
Um, we
simple.
we
Pray
talked
to
in our
spirit.
spring equinox ceremony about dancing,
Oh, yeah.
and
Cool.
so I
You
think
can
that it's
incorporate your
really.
kids with that.
Yeah, it's good to also get the kids involved. Think about the things that for spring equinox you'd like to do. Like I love to get my kids involved in the apple or egg spell because they love to call in things that they're calling into their life and
Mhm.
they love to share it and we'll sit around the fire and we'll all share the things that we, built this about this little thing. And it just gives us a peek into each other's inner work. And
Mhm.
as they get older, they start to see that those were the things that connected them And then if they fall away from any kind of, spiritual soul searching kind of things, they will often come back to those cornerstones that you decided were going to be the main things you were going to do. And so Jamie and I recommend picking the thing that is the most renewing to you
Mhm.
and then
And
try to do it with the
accessible.
kids.
And accessible. So make sure that
Yes.
whatever you do isn't stressing you out.
Yeah.
It should
Yeah.
be flow, like the divine feminine isn't going to force something that doesn't feel natural in the moment. So just really think that flowy thing, whatever is
Hmm.
easily flowing to you, and miracles happen that way. So really watch for it too. So like if you are really wanting to have this renewal process and you're even if you don't have children, but if you do and you're calling it in, watch for the signs of what would be renewing to you and your family. And then if it feels natural, then do it.
Yeah. Some of the things that I did early on when I was in survival mode with my family, when I was needing that personal growth, was I got us in nature, got us hiking, got us camping, got us going to the
Yeah.
lakes and rivers, got us in waters. And then the other thing that I did was I got us praying at food, at dinner each day and praying before bed. And we do that in different ways. Sometimes the prayer looks like meditation and breathing in and out, and sometimes the prayer looks like actual prayer. And then the third thing I did was I started to collect like different crystals that all the kids would, and we would put them in their rooms, and they would get to pick special things. And we also have like a nature table because we're Waldorf homeschool kids. We have a nature table that we always update. It's kind of like our family altar. And the kids will often add sticks and crystals and different things. And so right now we've got a lot of flowers and leaves being added to it. We're experiencing the leaves coming onto the trees for the first time. And so we might collect a leaf and see the difference between when the leaf fell and it was dark and brown and now it's bright and green. And it's tight and it can't be broken. And there's these things that we can explore with our children that don't have to be hard. We don't bake bread on a weekly basis like Waldorf tells us to do, or we don't paint on a weekly basis even, but we just live within the nature of the rhythm that we produce in our family on a weekly basis and a monthly basis. And we just try to be in the moment of those things and making um, rituals and sacred ceremony out of the mundane things that we're doing together on a daily basis.
Yes. I love it.
Anything to add about spring equinox?
No, I think, well, yes, I do think it's a really good time to, if you spent the winter journaling or processing your shadow and having, if you're a journaler, I think it's really good time to reflect in your back past year,
Hmm.
all the way back, and what worked, what didn't, what manifested, what you're working on, what you don't need to work on any longer. Just kind of take stock. It's a really great time to gather in mass like energy to go into the world soon, not yet, maybe in 2 to 3 months, and actually take action on some of the things you really, really want. So, what are those things? Getting really clear
Hmm.
ideas. And if you're still in that muddled phase of I'm not clear, I don't know, that's fine too. Just work with those pieces every week, every day, however often you journal, meditate or pray or ground or whatever it is that you do to call in your divine wisdom,
Hmm.
and just allow, and allowing and being in your divine feminine is super duper important in this transition because we lose it along the way. Sometimes we lose along the way. It's the end of the school year for a lot of moms, and there's so many things happening at school,
Hmm.
and it's a go, go, go time, and seasons are ending. So soccer season's ending, or baseball, or whatever it is. Okay. So my advice or my suggestion, or what I would like to incorporate more into my life, I should say, this is me saying that I need to do this, is I would like to be very present during spring. Just take deep breaths, find my presence, don't think too far out, allow the
Hmm.
flow of life to just happen. Allow change to come because it's coming for me and it's coming for all of us in some ways, and allow it to come in a way that is more gentle and flowing rather than me trying to make things happen, because we're not in the make things happen kind of mode right now. We're in balance, trying to find that, keep our balance, but also allowing and receiving and receptivity.
I think it brings up the importance of that sacred yes and that hell no. Because
Yeah.
sometimes there are, especially with me, I have 4 kids, right? So sometimes there's going to be multiple things on multiple days, and we have to just say, nope, we're not going to make it to that today.
Hmm.
Sorry. And we can't be everything for everyone until
Right.
we are everything for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so early on for me, when it was about babies and being touched out and nursing, springtime meant a lot of baths and showers, a lot of opportunity for me to take 10 minutes to myself so that I
Hmm.
wouldn't be touched out and I could let the day shed and then come out and be present for what I needed to be present for. And so we're all in seasons. This might not be a spring season for you, even though we're in the earthly spring season. So
Yeah.
just continue to think about the things that you like to call into your life that help you bloom, that bring you joy and laughter, and call more of those things in. And if you're noticing that you're feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, in survival mode, it's a great time to look at what's working for you and what's not, because we don't have to feel that way. It's normal to feel that way when we have young babies, but we're also capable of getting to the other end of that where we don't have to have young babies and feel in survival. I mean, we're tired, we're exhausted, we haven't slept all night. So that's when we should be doing way less, not more.
Hmm.
That means you need to be doing way less. If you're an exhausted mom who has babies in survival mode, you probably need to be doing less. You're doing
Right.
too much.
You're
And
doing
then
too
that means that we
much.
need to ask for help, and
And
this
your
time,
rhythm is out of whack. Yes.
yeah, and this time is for that. It's for asking for help, balancing, figuring out what is working and how I can have maybe those intense, hard conversations with my husband or my friends and family about how they might be able to support me this season in motherhood.
Mhm.
So don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to share date night with a friend. They don't have to spend the night. You could just do like, hey, come to my house and I'll come to yours. We can share that way. There's
Mhm.
lots of things that we can do to support each other, so that it doesn't have to be so hard.
Right. And listening to the yes and listening to the no's and
Yeah.
honoring them and trusting that process. The more you can trust those inner knowings and the
Hmm.
yeses and the nos, and you work from those, it's going to be so much better for you. So if
Yeah.
you don't do that already or have that practice as a practice for yourself or a rhythm in your life, then try it. Try it for spring. That's a great way to enter spring.
Well, and if you're loving these conversations and you're really feeling like you are in survival mode and you'd like to come out of survival mode and you want support with that, we do one-on-one mentoring. A lot of our mentoring is working with moms and just helping them come out of survival mode and living back in thriving, because we've been there and
Mhm.
done that. And if you are interested in full moon or new moon circles because you want to work on the cycle of letting go and calling in, Lunar Alchemy is our monthly membership, and we also have those events available for you at a nominal fee. So if you'd like to join us with those, we have a full moon ceremony coming up in April we're really excited about, and we have a red tent ceremony. So if you haven't checked out our red tent podcast, go check it out. And if you'd like to join us for a red tent, you can join us in April. So that link is going to be below in our notes. And I'd just like you to just take a few moments and honor being here in this podcast today. I'd like you to just maybe put your hand on your heart and take a deep breath. And just one more. As we step closer into this new season, I want to honor you being here for you and yourself. You are the seed, the soil, and the sun. You're both the gardener and the garden. Trust your rhythms, honor your growth, and know that you're always supported by the cycles of Earth. If this episode spoke to your soul, share it with your sister who needs to hear this magic. And if you're ready to dive deeper, join us inside the Lunar Alchemy